Alright guys, welcome back. Central Florida Prepper here with Survival Living. I'm still going to be using C.F.P in the videos for a while till everyone gets used to me changing the name of the channel. Now today, I got a stick. I'm going to show y'all a simple spring trap. Alright, it's a spring snare, trap, snare. It's the actual correct term. I'm going to show you how to cut the triggers for this, and we are probably going to use that tree back there, right there. You can use saplings, things like that. It doesn't have to be anything. I mean, you're not really snatching your game completely up in the air. You are just trying to get them lifted up so that the snare stays in position. If you got a strong enough sapling that can lift the game up in the air, you know, even better. But, you know, sometimes everything's not perfect. Now this thing here has a lot of spring and I already tested out. And let's go ahead and get started here. I'll show you how to make the first trigger on this and hook everything up. We got our trusty dollar store wire. This is the red wire, so it seems to show up pretty well on camera. So we'll be using that today. And I did bring the correct tool for the job. But I did bring my big blade too, of course. But we're just going to use this. Alright guys, so we got a very long stick here. This one is a little bit longer, but we're actually, the top part of the trigger is only going to be about that long. This here is going to be placed in the ground with a reverse trigger on that. So let's go ahead and start here. I want to set this up with a basic cut down the front side here. Not all the way through, maybe 3/4 of a way through, kind of like our figure 4. I did go a little bit past center on that one. I didn't mean to, but that will work. Alright, now I'm going to put a little groove in the back side here. There we go. Alright, I'm going to put a groove in the back side here. That's going to be for our wire to cinch up. Alright, let's see here. I'm just skinning that back a little bit, just so our wire does not slide off. You can use regular paracord if you have that handy. Most people carry paracord in their bug out bags. Paracord works just fine with this. I just grab the snare wire I usually keep on me, well, in my bug out bag, because I'm just used to using it. I do have some paracord, but usually snare wire just works just as fine. Alright, so now we got that set up. Now I'm going to trim this back, probably right here, because we don't need a very long trigger there. Alright, trim this up a little bit. Okay, that's our top part of our trigger. Alright, this is what's going to be, let me move my knife out of the way. This is what's going to be the top part of the trigger, and this is going to be the bottom half in the ground, and they're going to snitch up. A wire for our snare is going to come off, and our wire for the sapling is going to come off. This is the main part right here, guys. Now we're going to reverse the notch on this one. So let's go ahead and, whoops, I about fell in the field. Get this set up. Same cut, straight down, just like that. And then we're going to skin it back. Alright. Now we're going to check and see how they mate. Looks like they mate pretty well. I might need to take that, see that knob there? I might need to take that off. It's kind of in the trigger area. So let's go ahead and trim that up. Just to keep that trigger from snaring on itself. Alright, much better. Hopefully that showed up. Okay, yeah, that's much better. Alright, so the length of this bottom stick, it depends on how deep you can get this thing in the ground. Now you can, if you got a deadfall or something on the ground, let me get down here with the camera, guys. If you got a deadfall or something on the ground that you can adhere this to, maybe like say you got a log or something, you can tie this down onto that log and then run your snare, your trigger. That'll work too. I found out as long as you get this thing deep enough, that sapling shouldn't pull it out. But when you get bigger trees, it can pull it right out of the ground. So let's go ahead and mount this, and then we'll run our wire and pull our sapling down. Alright guys, first thing, see where we need to set this, pull the sapling down. We don't have to be all the way down the ground, we just got to make sure that we get a spring action here. I want my line to come down right about here, so we'll put the trigger a couple inches back. This was about a foot back. So, right there is where we're going to want this trigger. I want the cut facing the sapling, where the trigger mount is. I want that facing the sapling. Makes it easier for the trigger to set off. Alright guys, so we got that first piece in. Now, I want to run this onto the trigger here, our wire. Wire I like because once you cinch it down, it usually stays in place. Like I said though, paracord works just fine with this trap. The tensile strength of paracord is probably better than this Dollar Tree wire, but I like using wire. Alright, now let me pull our sapling down, see if we can't get this hooked up here. I'm going to pull some length so I can see what we're working with. Alright, now this here I'm going to have to pull down to reach all the way down to the bottom. So when I'm pulling this sapling down, guys, I don't want to meet it all the way yet, alright? I want to keep tension, so I'm going to back off here, which means I'm going to shorten my length up. So I actually have to really pull down to get there. Okay guys, so we've got our snare wire attached here. Let's go ahead and pull this down and get it all hooked up yet again. Alright, trigger is set. We've got our snare wire, our snare preset. Now usually, the big old briar right there, guys. Let's just use something like this for now. You want to set your trigger in vegetation and have a funnel set up, so that when the animal goes through, it's going to hit that trigger. But you want it low to the ground so that he will go through. Alright, let me finish setting this up, guys, and we'll set this thing off. I'll show you how it works. Alright guys, so we got our trigger set right here. We got a line going up to the tree, which is bent over. We have our snare set right here. Alright, so when something comes through here and gets hold of the snare wire, alright, and it goes to pull, it's going to start tightening down, and watch this trigger. Alright, so I've still got my hand on the stick. So the tree goes up, and this here dangles. And of course the snare has cinched up on it, cinched up onto the stick here, which would be the prey. Now when you set these things up, guys, you really want to find a game trail path that these things have been going through, and then find a sapling nearby. So like I said, very simple trap. As long as you've got your triggers, they meet in the center there. You got your snare wire, and you got your wire running up to your tree. When that snare wire gets pulled, let's see if I can do it with my fingers there. It pulls that trigger away, and that causes that snare to jump. You can set up a fishing pole just like this using a sapling, same type of trigger, and you can fish without even being there. So it's the same spring load, except that spring load actually just sets the hook in the throat or the mouth of the fish. Usually winds up in the throat of the fish, because by the time they've got it, they've already swallowed it down, and then they go to leave and it pulls on the trigger, sets the snare, and then you've got a fish on your line. I'm hoping to be able to do a video like that. I have to go get my fishing license though to do that, because I don't need no ticket. Alright, I don't want to get a fine for illegally fishing, and I don't even know if you can illegally fish that way unless it was a survival situation. It's something I got to look into. Sorry, I heard somebody walking. So anyway, guys, hopefully you found that trap useful. I have found that trap very useful. Now the success rate I've had with that all depends on the trigger. You want a very hard wood. Alright, this is not a hard wood. You want a hard wood so that the base of your trigger does not start to flake, and that's where your failure rate is going to be at, right here in this trigger. Okay, so having a hardwood is ideal for this trap to actually work. This here worked just fine. I don't know how many times I could actually set it up, because this is not hardwood that I'm using, but you know, I've had a lot of success with this type of trap, but it does depend on the materials alone. Now, before we leave, I want to give a shout out to a lot of people, actually, well, the whole community. Yesterday I did a GoFundMe page for the channel. It's something I did not want to ever have to do, but we had to do it. And there was a lot of great comments from people. There's a lot of people that actually donated to that, and I do appreciate that from every single one of y'all. If you want me to shout y'all out, just contact me, let me know. I have no problem doing that. If you want to stay anonymous, that's quite alright. Just let me know, okay? For those that, with all the comments and the understanding why we had to do that, I appreciate that. We've had a couple trolls pop in, and that's just the way it is. But yeah, you know, the community really came through with us. All the prayers, all the appreciations and stuff that everyone was saying, I appreciate that. I really do, guys. It was tough for me to do that, and I want to thank every single one of y'all for the response that we were receiving. Definitely thank every single one of y'all. Alright, guys, till next time, talk to y'all later.